Welcome to another episode of GQ Speaks, your go-to platform for insightful conversations, captivating stories, and thought-provoking discussions. GQ is a series of experiences, and we're just making sense of that as we go along. That is what we're doing here, one conversation at a time. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into our episode.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
I was asleep, and my alarm that I put to wake me up sounds like the alert. It's very similar. So when the alert rang, I thought it was my alarm. So I woke up and I turned it off and I went back to sleep. And then my mom comes in and she's like, "They hit us." And I'm like, "Huh?" She's like, "Wake up, they hit us." And I was like, "Who?" And she was like, "Okay, grab your things and come to my room, and this is serious." So I grab my things, I go to her room, and I'm planning on going back to sleep. Khalas, like, what is this? What's happening?
You know, I was in Istanbul and I was going to Sabiha Airport. And my flight was, I was going to check in midday. So I get to the airport, and all my family was back in Qatar, yeah? And I was in Istanbul. I'd been there for like 10 days. And I was just getting back, and obviously I was traveling, you know, like by bus and metro, and I didn't check the updates that was happening. And I get to the counter, and they said, "We're not announcing a check-in just yet. Give us an hour, and we'll get back to you." And I thought, okay, you know, and I thought it was a bit weird, but. And so I sat down and I opened up and I started looking, and then I realized that the war had basically kicked off, you know, while I was on the metro. I kept going back to the counter, and they kept saying, "Another hour, and then we'll let you know whether you'll board." And I was, you know, everything was just, it looked so escalating that there was no way. I just went home. There was no way that the flight planes were going to take off. So yeah, it was a bit dramatic.
Oh my God. So I was at CEP the day before. We were returning from Nepal. We were in Kathmandu. And it was such amazing time. We were all in such good energy.
I was in Doha, but I was actually in Nepal 12 hours before the first bomb dropped. I landed in Doha 28th February around 2 a.m. And I went to my dorms. I woke up to explosions, basically. And yeah, that's when everything started.
Come back to Doha. My dad tells me, like, I was tracking your flights. The news is crazy. We didn't want to tell you, but I'm glad you made it back home. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I dismissed it, right? I go to sleep. My mom wakes me up in the morning and she goes, "Zain, the US just attacked Iran." And I'm like, no way, no way. It's not going to happen this fast. They come and attack Qatar. And then minutes after, I'm already up at my parents, and then I see the news. And it went from like such amazing energy from CEP to the energy of what is going to happen next. And it was big shock. So, yeah.
Even when I found out what happened, in my head, I was still sort of, it was going to be the same thing that we experienced in September or same thing we experienced in June or July, where it's like very targeted, happens for a day, classes are off, but the next day everything's back to normal. I've lived in Doha for 9 years. I would have never thought that this is going to happen. This is going to be such a prolonged thing, and I'm going to lose out on my final semester. So it took me quite some time to actually process.
I knew that we would go online because of the frequency of the alarms, and I was not thrilled. My students, yourself, will know that I'm not a Zoom person, and I love face-to-face teaching, being in the classroom, interacting with the students, having them in my office. I'm a people person, so it definitely affected my usual optimism. But I have to say that my Zoom classes have worked out really well, despite the fact, and if you're listening, you know who you are, despite the fact that some students would not put their cameras on. But I hope to have a chance to come back to this topic later in our conversation.
I found a bunch of alerts on my phone from GQ alerts, and even my cousin sent me that Texas sent them alerts and stuff. So I was just looking at all of that, and that day I was supposed to get my senior photos done with Noor and Mariana, who are my friends from uni. And I remember just immediately texting them, be like, okay, so are we still going to get our photos done? And obviously that was a clear no. But I thought it would just be a one-day affair, like the previous 2 times where we got missiles from Iran and then we got bombed by Israel. So I thought it would just be a 1 to 2 day affair. I was like, okay, you know what, it's fine. We can reschedule for sometime later during the week, and it's fine. So a multiple day affair, but I didn't expect it to reach this extent of now it's over a month. So I think I was a bit hopeful in the beginning, but now the hope is gone. So yeah, that's about it.
Initially, as I got the communication from Georgetown and, for example, the alert from the U.S. Embassy, the advice was to shelter in place, and that was my initial instinct as well. It might not be a good idea to go anywhere, and also the airspace was closed, so I didn't have a choice anyway. But as the explosions, the frequency of explosions increased every day, more than me, my parents were getting more concerned, and this emotional toll was starting to take a physical toll as well. My mom was starting to get sick because of the anxiety and how she was worrying for me. At that stage, a week after the first explosion happened, at that stage I realized that I probably have to go back. For mostly because I want to allay my parents' concerns. I don't want them to continue worrying what will happen to their son, yeah.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ali. I am a senior, majoring in international politics, and I'm also doing a minor in theology. So I'm supposed to graduate in 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks, I guess. And I'm also serving as student body president up until the first week of May, so up until this semester.
I am Mohtasim Hafiz. I'm a freshman at GQ. I'm from Bangladesh and I'm an international student.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha Al-Emadi. I am a sophomore, or I guess I should say I'm a rising junior now, which is weird to say. And I'm an IPOL major.
My name's Zain Almond. I teach world literature. I've been teaching world literature at Georgetown University, Qatar for 13 years. I came here with the Ottomans. It feels like that sometimes. Yeah, that's me. I teach literature here.
The student development officer. I've been working at Georgetown for 2 years, but I'm also a Georgetown alum. I graduated in class of 2023, and majored in culture and politics. And yeah, since after graduation, I started working at Georgetown at Student Affairs, and I've been loving it since then.
My name is Magda Rostron. I'm a professor here at Georgetown. I teach writing, literature, and a few elective courses.
And my name is Maryam Al-Ansari. I'm a senior majoring in international politics, and I'm from Qatar. Yeah, that's basically it.
This is gonna sound really bad, but I don't think I remember the last day of uni. Because it was a normal day, like you wouldn't remember a normal day. So for me, I just went to my class and I came back home and I was like, okay, that's it. And it was the second day of Ramadan, I think. So for me, I was like, khalas, let me go home. I need to sleep. I need to get my schedule in order for Ramadan.
That optimistic, hopeful optimist with all my friends, with everyone. Like I even texted on the group chat in my department, like I think where they said like, oh, they're talking or something, like news came out. I'm like, guys, they're talking. You know, I thought it would be similar to what happened in June last year. Like that was a shock, but then within hours that shock went away because they had a deal by then. But I didn't expect it to get that long, and every weekend be like, okay, no, a ceasefire is gonna happen. We're gonna be able to come back to normal. And now I'm still hopeful. I'm still waiting for this to come to end, but I didn't expect it to last this long.
I think the most recent email by the dean when he announced like the semester is going to be completely online, that's when I actually just accepted it. Okay, you know what? Like this is just how it is. For me, it was always like, okay, it's going to go, and maybe mid-April. I'm gonna be back in Doha, and I'll be able to have my last class and Trapaya and the student awards and student dinner. I think now I've just accepted, okay, this is just how it is. But right now, if there's no hope for me to go back to Doha for these events, but up until that announcement, I was still pretty hopeful with that.
First concern as a teacher, but also as a mother, as a human being, was the question about their own mental state and emotional state. And I tried to send out messages outside my usual classroom or course communication to stay in touch with the students. I also had to rethink my approach to teaching and my plan for each class. I teach 3 different courses, so everything had to be revised and modified. I have tried throughout this entire period to take these non-academic issues into consideration, because as a university we care about the whole person of each individual student. So I wanted to obviously practice that approach, and I hope I have done as best as I could.
I was surprised, and I can answer that question with something Dean Musty said in one of the emails he sent a few days ago, that this time, this horrifying experience, what we should remember, or what I can speak for myself, what I can remember in the future is the fact that the community was incredibly supportive. That's what I'm going to remember 10 years later, not something, not the explosions. I'm going to remember how supportive and how tight-knit the community was. The community was supportive in every possible way. They were communicating with us frequently, especially us international students who were living away from their families. They arranged voluntary departure to Saudi Arabia. Even something as trivial as data. The dean came to the dorms and asked if we have any issues, and we were like, the internet here sucks and we're unable to do online classes. So he just bought everyone data packages. That's the extent of support that we received. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful, and not just through logistics. Being there for us. I think 4 or 5 people reached out to me from student affairs, some of my professors, Dean Can. It was amazing.
It's been a roller coaster when it comes to work too. It's just trying to understand what is the best way to approach this. When do we make the decision to cancel a specific program? I remember even I think the sad part is also working a lot for a lot of programs that you were hopeful to come out, for the students during the semester, and then having to make the decision to cancel it was also really sad. Like I was talking to Jibin, and when he had to make the decision of canceling MU, and when we're just trying to figure out what is the next week going to look like. But at the same time, we also didn't want to feel like we're disconnected from the students. So we're trying to balance both, still plan for the future in hopes that it comes back to person, but also trying to be there for students. So a lot of it was emailing students. A lot of it was trying to think of ideas for online programming. I was one person that was really pushing for still trying to do some in-person things, and I was so happy to show up for the iftar, like the day before, like the last iftars of Ramadan. And I think that was a very beautiful sentiment, just to see everyone come together. And I think I just missed that. I missed the part, like my favorite part of my job is being there and talking to students, and not having that, even on Zoom, even on email, does not feel the same. But it's really trying to balance these different scenarios that we're trying to come up with for students, and just being there for students as much as we can.
Like in the beginning, I was like, okay, I didn't even think about graduation, to be honest, because I didn't think it would last this long. So my concern was more about like not being able to go to uni. I actually have this project that's like 100 days, 100 people project. So every day I'd be taking a picture with the countdown with someone. And I felt like with each passing day, I was like, okay, my project is like going into like becoming a mess, basically. But like the more it went on, the more I started thinking about, okay, wait, now I start thinking about grad. I start thinking about Tropaya. I start thinking about MUN. I'm also part of the MUN board. And I need to start thinking about like the events I had planned for SEC. So, but with grad specifically, what gave me like a good feeling was Dean Masri's promise that either ways would still have a commencement. So I don't think I'm that bothered by it. It's just that I would really love if we do have a grad for everyone to be there, including like other batches, because I know a lot of people are abroad and a lot of them are my friends. So I'd want them to be here, even if like if it's in August. So I just want like a whole community feeling during graduation.
I keep telling my friends, and like Iran is taking away time from uni, and it's not like, oh, I want to go and study, which also I do. I miss studying بصراحة at uni, but it's, we only get 4 years, and everyone says 4 years is a long time, but it really isn't. We're already halfway done with our uni journey, and like I miss complaining about classes as I'm going to classes. While I'm in the hallway, I miss seeing the long line at casual between classes and being like, oh my God, I need coffee, but I don't have time to go and wait. I miss like the little things that I used to hate, because those were the things that made it uni. Now, okay, we enter classes, we have discussions, we do those things, but it's really different when you're at uni. And I think another thing is uni is such a big part of my social life. So not being at uni is like, I need to leave the house. Every day I'm making plans to leave the house. I'm like, I feel trapped here because it just is not the same anymore. So I'm hoping we can go back for summer semester, but we're staying hopeful. Like that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling hopeful.
I remember the first lesson immediately on Zoom, immediately after the attack began. And yeah, I remember everyone was it was our class, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, everyone was really freaked out. Like you could feel, even on a Zoom screen, you could feel it, that people were really on edge. And yeah, I remember I felt a little bit sad about that. I think I was still in Istanbul. Yeah, so I was still in Turkey, trying to get to Doha. And obviously, when you watch it from outside, you think it's much worse than it actually is. Yeah, you think bombs are raining down everywhere, and students are dodging, zigzagging through the street as zigzagging between as they run past Wakod and tea time. They're dodging drones, and obviously it's not like that. But you do get you get this kind of 24/7 breaking news, constant stream of explosions. So this is why people freak out more who weren't in Qatar than people who are actually living it every day. But yeah, I
out to the students that they had options. Options to carry on rather than pull out and confine themselves within the four walls of their own anxiety and their own home. And I wanted to build up their resilience. And I think, the response from the students has been overwhelmingly positive and upbeat. Yes, there have been these ups and downs, and based on my conversations with the students and exchanges of emails and messages, it's obvious, and it has obviously affected all of us. There have been these moments of despair even, and resignation. But I think many students found an outlet through writing. And I asked for their writing to be as creative and personal as possible. We even had a kind of a collective war diary in one of my classes. And I invited them to share their reflections either through Zoom in the classroom, or even on an individual basis through email communication with me. And I absolutely loved it. And I have to say, some of these messages, some of these essays and reflections.
At the start, I was freaking out. I was actually really, really freaking out because, one, I was not in Doha, so I had no idea, what is going on. I had to just trust from whatever was being told to me. I don't know if you remember when you guys were in Doha, it was very early morning in South Africa, and I was talking to Dean Musri, and we were I proposed for him to cancel classes. It only happened he only did it once. Right at the start. Just things like that, I think I would be so much more confident in doing so if I was actually in Doha. Because I don't know, I'm just trusting based on what people in Doha are telling me, and also what the other SGA is telling me. I don't know if people actually want classes to be canceled or not. I'm going off of what in my head makes the most sense. And also, I think in my head, I thought students are going to have a lot of expectations, and which is fair. In times of stress, you do expect certain institutions or if there is a student body to do something about it. But it's been relatively easy, very, very easy. It's because all class reps and everyone on the exec board, everyone's just been really, really responsive, and also taking initiatives, just organizing things by ourselves. Because, for example, GAP is not going to happen for class of 2030. So the SGA we were you know what, we don't need a gap. We're going to join on a call, and just students can come and ask questions from us direct. I know sophomores were really concerned about study abroad. And instead of just waiting, okay, is there going to be a session with Dean Durrani or someone from DC? I know Ayan and Bella, they just made a Zoom call with Dean Moot, and everyone could join in. So it is those things. And there are things that we've been asked to do, but unfortunately it's just so out of our scope. Some students, let's say they had a problem with the employment policy and everything, but unfortunately that is something that as student government you really cannot do anything about. But luckily, I would say not majority, I would say everyone in the student body has been very understanding of the conditions as well, the conditions the student government is in as well, that they do request and ask for things, and when it's told to them, okay, maybe this is not possible, they've been very understanding of that, okay, no, thank you for trying, but yeah, we get it, why you couldn't probably do it right now. So yeah, it's sad that I have to end SGA this way, not a proper goodbye kind of thing. It's sad, like we couldn't, like this SGA couldn't do like Georgetown Day. Like we had stuff planned for that. We had open mic in the first week of April, so I mean that got canceled as well. And then like the whole, just to organize elections for next year, making the transition into next year's student body easier. We were also like thinking this time to come up with like traditions of how that looks like. So like, I'm not gonna say now what plans we had, but it's not gonna happen. But we had like a lot of plans for how we wanted the last month to go to. But yeah, I guess that's just life. You plan things, but sometimes just stuff happens. And, you have to just change them accordingly, I guess.
Say I am really dependent on the community and my social circle more than I realized. Something that I've taken for granted because my friends and everyone else, the community, they were always around. So only when they were not physically there, I realized how much their existence matters in my life. And while going through the process, I was thinking, if I didn't have my friends, or if I didn't have the community with me, if I didn't feel like the administration is in favor of the students, they're doing everything they can to support the students, I would have lost it a long time ago. Only because they were there, I could, go through it and came out sane.
Start, I was like, oh, this feels like COVID. We're all at home, we're online. But it really doesn't, because when COVID was like at the peak of COVID, I was in year 8, I think. And online classes were like nothing. Some classes we didn't even have like a Zoom. We would just finish work and that's it. And for us, like our household, no one left the house during COVID for like, I want to say probably more than 3 months. We were all just at home. So now it's different. It's like everyone is leaving, everyone is going out. A lot of people are back to their normal jobs except us. And it's like for me, our entire house is back to work except me and my mom, because my mom works at QF as well. So it's like her and I are every day planning to leave the house just so we don't feel like it's COVID again. And yesterday we were talking about this. We were celebrating one of my brother's birthdays, and we were like, this kind of feels like COVID, because it was like, I don't know, the vibes were similar. And then my mom was like, I hated COVID. And he was like, why? And then she said that it felt like a chore to hang out with you guys every day. And I relate to that, because it was actually like a chore. Like we didn't have anyone else to hang out with. So we were all like facing each other the entire day. Most of the time repeating conversations, talking about the elections happening in the US. So now talking about Trump and everything that's happening is very similar, but I think it's the part that we're able to go out, we're able to see our extended family, our friends, to see random people. Yeah, that's the part I'm like grateful about, that we don't have to stay at home.
I feel like it's COVID again, and I absolutely hate it. I feel like I was a freshman when COVID hit, and I remember these feelings, and it's been, I hate being at home this long. And I think for me, what has been even harder is seeing like my siblings and my family going back to a sort of reality for them, and we're still online trying to deal with everything. I think that's also been harder, just to, wish like there's a bit of normalcy in life, but right now there's still not any normalcy. This has become the new normal, and I absolutely hate it. I hate online. I hate being in Zoom meetings. Even like I'd rather have a meeting in person than a Zoom meeting or emails or anything like that. And when it comes to work as well, it's just been like a roller coaster, and trying to finish all the things that we need to finish, but also not having that in-person element of engagement with students as much as you would like to, it's just sucked. So yeah, but I'm so ready for it to be back to normal. I'm so ready to be in person, because I hate being stuck at home. It just reminds me of my like freshman self, attending online classes, and I'm doing my master's too online. So it feels like a repetition of 2020, but in a even more uncertain way.
It surprised me in a most positive way. It was this unprecedented solidarity. the community has shown, the compassion, but also practical solidarity. And the fact that members of our community, including Father Ryan, Dean Ken, Dean Hill, and others have participated in the efforts to evacuate our international students, to take them over to Riyadh. I mean, that's courage, absolutely unprecedented courage on the part of the Georgetown community members, but also deep, loving care. And the fact that Georgetown immediately took action, the fact that the dean and his team, and I could obviously name the people who were each time on each webinar meeting with us, absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That has forged much deeper connections. Yes, it's been emotional, of course, as well, to see that amount of support and encouragement, but the strength that has come from that, I think, is a great treasure. So I think even during tough times, difficult times, these absolutely wonderful aspects of humanity surprise us. Should they surprise us? I don't know. But because we take many things for granted under the normal circumstances, when these things are taken away from us, and we see how the members, some members or many members of our community react, how they immediately organize themselves and respond to these difficult circumstances, that is truly uplifting. It's a spiritual experience as much as anything else. So from the bottom of my heart, really, thank you. This is the Georgetown that I know, this is the Georgetown I'm proud of, and I'm thrilled to be part of this community.
Thinking now as an academic, like, there are people who feel more committed to Georgetown than others. Yeah, there are definitely, amongst our faculty, there are definitely people who feel that they're Georgetown, they work, they're Georgetown professors, and it's almost like a part of their identity. I think within Georgetown jargon, they're even called lifers, people who are in it for life, like they are Georgetown through and through. And then there are those of us who don't feel that, like, who don't, I definitely share some of the values of Georgetown, but no, they're all kind of, every time people say Hoya Saxa, I always hear Anglo-Saxon, but I don't have any time for that bullshit. I mean, you don't have to edit that out. You can keep that in. But I admire the good things that Georgetown has done, definitely.
We were going to Qiyam, so the last Sundays of Ramadan. In the middle of our prayers, there were missiles above us. So the alerts go off. We're in a tent because the masjid doesn't fit all of us, so we can hear it more outside. People are crying, they're screaming, they're leaving. Oh, I think someone fainted. And I'm there like shaking and crying in the middle of my prayer, and I'm like, actually, we don't have anyone other than Allah to protect us at this point. The country is doing all they can, but really it was like, I think, it was a moment of realization that this is like a wake-up call. I don't know if it was just like that for me or for other people, but it was really like a moment of, you know what, you need to throw everything on Allah and everything will be fine. So that day really kind of traumatized me. I remember getting jump scared by everything that point on, but I see it as a blessing, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have strengthened my relationship with my religion as much as I have over the past few weeks.
So I had like 2 to 3 journal entries before the one I wrote for the article, and I thought about how I'm not the only one going through this, and I'm sure a lot of people share the same sentiments. So I wanted to write something to share with people, to make them know that you're not alone and that we're all feeling the same way. And the reaction I got was what I expected, that people were telling me how they connected with it, they related to it, and how they feel like they're not alone. And when people told me that, I felt like I achieved my objective, and it was really nice to connect with others over the same things and sentiments that we share, because we're all going through it. So we need to lean on one another.
If I were to see this video years later, is how many of these small moments in life that you take for granted that are there for your own peace and safety. I think for me also personally, I became even so more grateful to be living in Doha and growing up in Doha and knowing how important it is that I grew up in such a safe, and I even despite this war, I knew that I would be safe, and I think it made me so much more grateful to be and have grown up in a place like Doha. I from A to Z, and it reminds me of all the different points of crises, from the blockade to COVID and everything, but it's reinforced again how protected and safe I am in Doha, especially coming from Palestine. When I see the news and everything that's coming, I sometimes take it for granted what it means to be in a safe environment, and I'm so grateful to be in a safe environment, but also just in general all the small things that comes to in my life and that makes me happy. How many of these moments do I take them for granted every day? I love driving in the morning to work. I miss that. And I didn't realize how much I took it for granted. Sometimes I'd be I don't want to drive this morning. But now I miss just having that routine. And having these lunches and dinners that we have on campus and how fun they are and all the programmings. I miss the barbecue, the first Sunday grill out. We're going to have the seniors takeover. I was so excited for that one. It's just these moments of coming together that I miss also in general.
I think the message I would send out is that one of the saddest things about these conflicts, or at least one of the saddest after effects or side effects, is that people become so obsessed with the headlines and with the main things that are going on, which are very, very important, obviously, that everybody else's problems kind of fade into the background. And I realized this talking to lots of security guards, and not just on campus, but here in Musharraf where I live, and especially all the kind of African, the Kenyan, Ugandan security guards, the Bangladeshis. They're all terrified because there's just this feeling that if anything goes wrong, they're the most vulnerable group. Is their conviction at least? So yeah, it does sadden me that in these moments of conflict, of course, it's legitimate to feel worried about oneself, but people at the very bottom end of the ladder become almost completely invisible. And so I do hope that the GUQ continues its concern for the entire community, and not just the students and the administrators and the professors. We're doing fine, but everyone, right? I guess that would be the message I would express.
My message to the community would be to make sure that the warm side within us is not just limited to ourselves. We should ensure that it is open to others, so that others can see the warmth and they can feel safe and they can feel that they're not alone.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of GUQ Speaks. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspirations from our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to follow us on our Instagram page at GUQ_speaks, and be sure to leave a review on Spotify to show your support.